Alright, so we're going to look at this one first. So this one we're just a little bit worried about because, as you can see, there's not a lot of traffic outside of here, and this was a really weird hive last year because when the season finished for us sort of in April, there were actually 3 queens in here, so that's odd, and I think there's been problems with it because we're not sure which queen was actually working, so it's had a bit of a hit on the population. Is that correct?
So, yeah, so we've got the strap which keeps it all together. This is the lid, and that's the weatherproof bit, and then we keep notes on what's going on in a hive. This is the mat, which basically provides some insulation, and we can flip it round so that there's some ventilation. We haven't done that because we've got a feeder on and we put sugar syrup in there. So this is a feeder.
It's got bracken in it, so the reason why we put the bracken in is so that the bees don't drown. They've got something to stand on when they're in there drinking the syrup.
And you can see that's how they get up inside it.
There's a wee hole.
Yeah, little chimney.
So we normally only feed bees at the beginning and the end of the season, or if a hive is weak, and we want to build up the population, or sort of say, hey, it's time to start thinking about breeding more bees.
So this box, we call it the stores box because this contains the winter stores for the bees.
So the store box we never take off, so all the honey that is in these 2 boxes are for the bees. So priority is to make sure that those are full, and any boxes that we add onto it, that's what we take off as our honey crop.
And then we'll just put this over the top. That'll help protect the bees from other hives nearby that might get interested in them.
So in here, which I'm sure you may or may not know, is where the queen hangs out. The mat on top here is called a queen excluder, and the bars are wide enough for a honeybee to get through, but because the queen is bigger, she cannot, and so she stays in the bottom. It just means that all the eggs and larvae and brood that she lays stays in one place, and it doesn't get intermingled with the stores box and the honey that's up there.
Right, so just looking at the bottom, that's a queen cell that started. You can see the white stuff there.
That's the royal jelly.
Yep, royal jelly.
So something's not right in Crete.
Yeah, so this hive, we name our hives after either towns or countries or cities. So this one's called Crete.
So usually the outer frames, there's not a lot of brood or anything in it. There's a little bit of pollen. So, see some pollen. Not much going on in there.
So there's pollen in there as well.
It's not good seeing such an empty frame normally, and if we look through the stronger hive you'll get the comparison. Normally there would be perhaps a little bit of brood since it's the second frame, but you definitely want to see a fuller looking frame than what we've got there. So this is what we'd call a weak hive, and it's probably going to need a little bit more attention than the other ones to ensure that it gets through okay.
So we've got
Pollen's pretty.
pollen, some what is probably sugar syrup that they'll be using to feed the young. And a queen can lay, but only as far out as there are enough bees to keep the brood warm. So if it gets cold overnight, there has to be enough worker bees to cover up the brood and keep it warm.
Okay, so this looks a bit better. So I can see a queen cell,
Yep.
which is not. What was that? Sorry. High quality filming going on here, people. So yeah, that's a veil. And just in...
We've got a queen here.
Ah.
And she is not one of the ones that we had last year.
Ah, where is she?
She's right there. I am guessing she's potentially newly hatched.
Oh man, I can't see it. Hopefully you guys can see it.
So she's just here.
Oh well, no wonder I can see it.
So
Oh, there she is. There she is.
see how stripy she is? None of the ones before that were like that.
That's yeah, interesting.
So I'm guessing we won't find any more queens.
So there.
But we have got eggs.
Hey, that's good. So is that cell? Do you need to bop that?
I don't know.
That was your hatch one.
No, so that's unhatched.
So seeing eggs is good, so that means theoretically there is a mated queen in here. Hopefully it's the one that we just saw.
Yeah, she's not looking hugely mate, and like normally I would expect her abdomen to be bigger. So an egg stays as an egg for 3 days, whether it's a worker, a drone or a queen that's going to come from the egg. So we can tell there's been a queen in here laying in the last 3 days.
Bit of detective work goes with beekeeping.
So here's the old queen.
Zooming in. Bear with us, folks. Oh, there she is. Can you see? She's quite tawny brown. She's sort of on the frame.
She's on the wood there.
Yeah, she's doing a very good focus shot. Now she's hiding. So it is strange that the other queen hasn't bopped off yet. She may be the one that's still laying.
There's another queen.
Oh my lord. There we go. This is very odd.
So you can see this queen, we think somewhere she got a damaged abdomen, so we don't think she's laying.
But it's kind of weird that the hive's maintained and let her live for as long as she has, because she's essentially just a drain on resources. And the bees are usually pretty efficient at removing anything that is not an asset to the hive.
So here, in what should be a worker cell, we've got drones. So it should be flat like this. That tells us that one of these queens is laying unfertilized eggs.
So the hives recognise that the queens that they have aren't producing in an effective manner. So that's why they've created the new one. Blowing on the bees is a really good way to make them move, especially meat and onions. Not that we have for breakfast, onions, but yeah, it's quite a nice gentle way to move them off if you want to look into a cell or just see what's going on. But the temperament of the hive is lovely. I have one glove on, but the glove that I'm using to hold the phone for filming is glove free. So they're not grumpy, they're not angry. Sometimes when you've got a change of queens, the temperament changes, but these still seem very nice bees, so hopefully those genetics that we really liked in this hive continue.
We've still got laying out here too.
Yeah, so the hive's taken a bit of a knock, but it is comforting to see that there is a new young queen in there. So Damien's just shaking off, which does make them a tad cranky, just to get a better look of what's going on in the frame. Light is really important when you're looking in the cells, especially with the dark comb, because it's quite hard to see. It's quite hard to see inside them on a cloudy day as well. I hope this is in focus because I'm looking at this through a veil and it's very hard to tell. Apologies if it isn't. Yeah. So there's something quite methodical and calming about beekeeping when the hive's happy. It's quite a nice way to spend the day. So Damien's going to put the box back together. He's not going to look at the last two frames because you can see there's not much going on.
Yeah, they'll be like this one.
Yeah, they'll just look like that. And he knows he's got a laying queen. Well,
3.
We've got 3 laying queens. Well, definitely 2 laying queens. And it looks like it might just be a process of transitioning from the older queen to the younger queen, who looks like she may be partially mated. We've had a lot of on and off weather, so it needs to be how many degrees for her to fly? 17, so she might get out today, but we've had days of warm weather and then plummeting back down to single figures, so it's quite a hard time of year for matings to happen. We're also kind of doing disease inspections today, which means we just want to check that there's no varroa mite or anything else going on in the hive. Damien's busy trying to remove the queens off this particular frame so that he can safely shake it and have a good look in the cells to make sure there's no varroa or anything else going on. If there is varroa, what we will do is put a treatment in. We've had varroa before and it's not a very pleasant thing to have in your hive. It's pretty hard on the bees and it's quite distressing when you see bees that have their wings deformed or they've lost limbs and stuff, which is what the varroa mite does. So hopefully we don't have any at the moment. As the season progresses and the hives are more active, as a part of our beekeeping process, we will just put a treatment in, because of the fact that yes, we might treat, but other people don't. So the communication between hives, or different bees from different hives, can cause the spread.
So what I'm looking for here is diseases in bees are usually in the young. So that one's okay. If there's a problem, the bees will take the cap off. So I know I took that off. That one to me looks like one that they're closing up. They're putting the capping on, so I can have a look inside. And it's pearly white and healthy, and there's lots of sun going in, so I can see. So you get used to what a normal healthy hive looks like, and then you can see where it's not. The thing that's not healthy about this hive is all these big cells like this and what should be flat ones. And as we said, that's when you've got a queen who's laying unfertilized eggs. Unfertilized eggs in the bees are male, they're drones.
The laying pattern's a bit off as well. Normally it should all be a mass of brood, but as you can see it's quite speckled, and that would just be sort of another sign that the previous queen is probably at the end of her life cycle. We've had her for about 2 years, which is...
this will be her 3rd year, maybe her 4th season we're going into.
So that's quite a long time for a bee, a queen bee. Normally, especially if the impacts of her, sometimes they only last a year. So she's had a good run. She's been an amazing queen. She's been very productive in her brood laying, and then as a result the hive has often been one of our stronger ones. So we're comforted by the fact that there is a next generation coming through, but it's kind of sad to see the hive as weak as it is. Normally, I think when we go and look at the other hive, it would normally be of the same standard, where this whole box would just be a mass of bees at this time of year. But everything goes in a cycle. And hopefully by having a new queen in at this time of year, come summer.
So I've just walked the 3rd queen off. Now my only problem here is we have to decide what we're going to do with this queen cell. So if there were lots, I would think there was going to be a swarm. But there's only one. So what I'm going to do, I think, is leave it and see what happens.
Oh, this might be a 2-parter, peeps.
Yep. So I can't see anything that makes me think this is diseases. What I think is happening is we have queen problems. So we've got 2 choices. We can let the bees sort it out, or we can do stuff to get a queen back in here later on. So I'm going to give them another chance.
Sometimes, especially if the hive that you have has swarmed, or you start a hive from a swarm, quite often you put a new queen in just because you want to have genetics that aren't inclined to swarming. So yeah, that is that. I might stop this now because it is nearly 20 minutes and you may all be asleep, which is a good thing if it's bedtime, maybe not so much if it's the middle of the day. And we'll have a look in the other hive in a minute. Bye!